Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Taking Care of Business. I am Coleman Swartz with BBB. I am joined by two young men. This is Patrick and Kyle. They are partners with 14Forty Marketing. They are a brand new accredited business with BBB. So cheers to you guys. Oh, as my mug disappeared. There we go. Cheers to you guys. Guys, tell us what 14Forty Marketing is all about.
Take the floor, sir.
All right. So just a little background. Kyle and I both were directors of marketing for corporations for a number of years. Both, for me personally, loved my job, loved the corporation I was working for. Travel was just too much. I've got 4 kids, so I was like, I need to be able to see them grow up and be a good dad. And at that same time, Kyle was looking to transition out of his position, and so we teamed up late July of 2019 and then launched September of 2019. And both of us just have some pain points when it came to our experiences, even as directors of marketing for corporations, where we had to outsource some things to other agencies. And some of those pain points were the fact that you get, a data dashboard that you need to know Mandarin Chinese to understand, and so it's like, why can't this be, there should be a better way. And also some pain points were price. And so it was like, you don't need to charge that much. Like, there's no way on earth that it takes that much money to do what you do, because I can do it in probably a couple of hours for, you said it took a week to do. To the other side of the spectrum, where you get, for lack of a better term, I guess you can call them like bargain agencies. And so that can be anything from, a person who thinks that they understand marketing a little bit, or took a marketing class in a junior college, and they're trying to moonlight, and nothing wrong with that. Do it, educate yourself, do a really good job, but then you get what you pay for. And so we figured there has to be a better balance with this. There has to be a way where you don't compromise on excellence. You have clarity of communication. You have that attention to detail and that relationship between, the agency, us, and the client, to where they know that they can access us at any time. And so that's how 14Forty birthed, and we're blowing and going.
Yeah, so we just figured that there had to be a market between, if you're going to get a website built, you could go get a quote from somebody at $2,000, and I literally got quotes at my last job for a website for $130,000. So it's like, there's got to be a market between 2 and 130 where you can do a really good job and not charge an arm and a leg. So
where does the name 14Forty come from? Because it's not spelled out, it's 1440. So what's the origin of 14Forty?
Yeah, so I'm a history nerd, and so Johannes Gutenberg, he invented the printing press around 1440-ish, and so it's the advent of what we believe is modern day marketing, because you went from having everything with wooden blocks dipped in ink and stamped, and he said, hey, there's a better way to do something. He was innovative, and he was able to take the message and be able to mass market it out to the world.
Yeah, it really fits actually our philosophy as well. We have the only, and people may or may not be familiar with this, we have the only Story Brand certified guide in all of East Texas. But it's this formula, or this kind of style of marketing that really tells what a company does through story and in a very specific way that is incredibly successful. And so if you look at the printing press again, what's interesting about that idea is, if you wanted to make one pamphlet and affect one person, it was not a good way to do things, because it would take forever to make this plate over like a wooden stamp. But if you want to take the time and get the for us, it's the messaging, it's the way that you talk about yourself. If you take the time and do the front end work on that, then once you have that correct, and you have your messaging right, or you have your steel plate that you can, do a bunch, repeat, then that affects everything else in a positive way. So it's sort of like, get your front work done correctly, and then let your marketing serve you, instead of kind of you chasing different pieces or just throwing darts and guessing. So.
Yeah, one of the things that I say all the time is that when we're able to clarify your message through our Clarity of Message workshop, that's the fuel in your tank for everything else. And so we kind of stop and say this, like a lot of other agencies, and nothing against them, that they're doing what they knew to do, they're doing what they were taught to do. But what's best is if you're able to say, hey, yes, of course I can build you a website. Of course we can do targeted digital. Of course we can do those things. But if we don't get the foundation set, then all we're doing is being really good at spending money and really good at spreading a very confusing message. And so you're not going to see any ROI on that. You're not going to see any conversions on that. And so we have to start there first.
You're seeing really in the last probably 5-6 months, the companies who have invested in good messaging, in good brand awareness, and frankly, simplicity of both of those things. Like, what do you do? How do you do it? And how do you move forward? What is, from your perspective, the marketing, especially digital now with everything really pushing to the internet? Take the last 6 months as a snapshot, and what have you guys kind of seen as the changing landscape of how to be relevant digitally? Because if you're not now, you're in big trouble.
Yeah, I mean, even before COVID, if you weren't really there digitally, you were in big trouble. But and so what we've seen is that the same things still work. They just work in larger ways. So it's like if you have to get to a website and know right away, called the grunt test. So you have about 4 seconds, and you need to know right away what that company does. We're constantly, as consumers, especially now, sitting at home, Facebook's coming at me, 18 24-hour news channels coming at me, my friends texting me links to this and that. Everything's flowing in at all times. So we as humans are conserving mental calories. We can't afford to go off on, or to like read an entire website to figure out what a company does. We just don't have time to do it. And so people will honestly buy a worse product that they understand over a better product that they don't understand. It happens all the time. And so what we've learned in this digital age is the same, in this kind of COVID, whatever we're going through here, is the same thing we knew before, which is you've got to tell people what you do and why they need it. Otherwise, they're not gonna buy it. People buy products that they understand and that they know they need. And so that hasn't changed. And the companies we've been able to help, we've been super successful.
Yeah, and I think it all stems from the fact where Kyle and I genuinely want to help. We're not doing this just to put $1 in the bank, although you should be paid for your good work, as everyone should. But it's our mission statement that we said that we are compelled that every business should be given the opportunity to thrive and be known. And so that's where that thrive and be known kind of phrase comes from us. It's everyone should be given that same opportunity, no matter how big or small that you are, what your budget is like. And if we can clarify the message, that's the fuel in the tank that can take you to the next level with your business.
Folks, they are Kyle and Patrick. They are partners with 1440 Marketing. If someone comes to you and says, hey, we're a startup, or we need a whole kind of brand reimagining, or we just need help, what's the process you take them through to say, okay, here's what we think we can do, and then here's what we think we probably can't do based on what you already have or don't have?
Yeah, so we depending on size or scope and budget and all that, we usually give a few options. But the one thing that we don't compromise on ever, and that's what we're just talking about, is when we go through what we call a brand messaging workshop. And so we sit down with them for a couple hours and ask them about 1,000 questions that are specific questions, trying to get to a specific answers and tell a specific story. And so we work through that, and then what comes out of that is we give them a brand messaging guide, which gives them like a one-liner, kind of their story that they can tell people, a website wireframe of not of like, here's a problem that happens a lot. A lot of people would take that client and say, okay, we're going to build you a website. Here's the website. We built it. It's beautiful. Now tell us what words to put in it. Tell us what you do, and you try to fill it and all that. And so it's just like, what we do is we get your message right, and we get your language right, and so then we wireframe it, saying this is what you need to say. Now we can build it to be beautiful for you. We can do all those other things, but you need to be saying the right message. So that's step one. And then depending on kind of like what their business is and scope, we look at, digital marketing, digital ads, social marketing, print marketing, whatever we think that they might need. But the key, email marketing, but the key that we find, and what I would get frustrated with dealing with agencies in the past, is everything that we work with them and decide to do, we know why we're doing it. So if we're on social, we know what the goal is. and what it should be leading to. And eventually you want that to all, lead to customers. And so some people on social should be engagement is what you need. You need as much engagement as possible. Sometimes you have a product that on social, people just aren't going to engage in it. If you're selling, $1 million widgets, it's like, well, you're not going to get a lot of people just chit-chatting about it, And so it's sort of like, you need to be there, but you don't need to focus a bunch on trying to get engagement. Focus on just having the right message there, so that when people want your product, they can go check it out. So it's holistic, man. It's like raising kids. Every one of them is different. If you try to just put a pure formula on it, then you're going to win with some and lose with some. So we just take every client, get their message right, and then say, what's your budget look like? Where can we most effectively use your dollars? Or sometimes if they want to DIY it, then we can kind of give them the tools they need to do that as well. So we're just here to help.
Oh, got a little construction going on.
A little construction going on.
Speaking of construction, that's because you're in your office now. If somebody's watching, like, hey, I could use some help here. Maybe it's just to ask some questions, or they need a total rebuild and everything. Guys, how do they get hold of you? Where do they find you at?
Yeah, so 1440mc.com. So that's 14fortymc.com. You can do that. Or we're downtown, so 312 South Broadway Avenue. It used to be the 308 South Broadway Avenue, so now it's known as the 308 kind of space, but there's multiple businesses here, and so that's where we're at. And just to piggyback on what Kyle was saying again, the day and age of silo marketing is dead, probably about 5 or 6 years ago. So that's one thing that I think is that infuriates Kyle and I when we hear that people were just like sold just on this silo, very tunnel vision perspective of marketing. It has to be an ecosystem where everything is feeding itself, and if one link does break, then you're wasting money. You're throwing money up in the air hoping that it lands in the right places. So
yep.
Guys, I will be respectful of your time. We appreciate you joining us today. I have one final question for you. We have seen more than ever now the absolute need to be specific, to be simple, and to be straightforward when it comes specifically to digital, right? Like what you do, how you do it, and frankly, how much does it cost? And people's attention spans, like you said, you have 4 seconds to figure it out. What does the future on digital hold? Whether it's shopping or researching or marketing, in your eyes, what is the future of marketing on a digital platform?
Yeah, so 2 specifics are this, or AI, artificial intelligence. It's only going to get better. And when I say that, it's depending on people's comfort zones, and better is subjective, right? So better for what? But as far as from an AI perspective, it's only going to get more intelligent. And if you're not investigating, AI targeted digital, then you're behind the curve already. And the next thing is voice. So Alexa, Google Home. There's an amazing opportunity right now to get into voice at a very low cost, where in probably 6 months to a year from now, you're going to be paying premium like you do with Facebook and everywhere else. So those are the 2 things that the places that I follow, the gurus that I like to follow and hear back from them. The conferences, we just went to a conference last September. That was what was forecasted, and as much research as I've done in that, it's just right around the corner.
Yeah, but you got to make sure at the end of the day, no matter what platform you're on, if you're nailing it and you're in front of the curve, if you're saying things that people don't understand, you're just going to end up frustrated. And so, yeah, you still got to get your messaging right and stay ahead. But if you do both those things, functionally, all technology is changing all around us, but humans, still connect with things they know and understand and connect with humans. And so that's kind of the fun part. You got to use technology, but not rely on it so much that it's like, I have all these, a beautiful website, I'm on Google Voice, but I just don't know what to say. Then you're kind of going backwards.
Yeah.
You need to start from the messaging side.
They are Kyle Carter and Patrick Listener. They are partners with 1440 Marketing. Their contact information is below their website. Hit them up if you need help with anything digital, and because that's where we're going, folks. You got to get your name out there, and you've got to be simple and straightforward in doing it. We are going to try to partner with them. We've talked about it before. Hopefully for them to host something. You had mentioned that you do kind of seminars or trainings on simplifying your message, and I think a lot of people could really benefit from that. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to try to figure out and see if that's something that they would be willing to do. It sounds like you would be, to get people to just be straightforward.
Yep.
Minutia and words and pictures, that's fine, but if you don't know what you're talking about, then it's really tough to do it. So guys, we really appreciate you. Congratulations on being accredited with BBB, and best of luck to you in the future.
Appreciate it, Cole. Thanks, man.
You bet, guys.